Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer, zu Inside Wall Street aus dem Studio der New York Stock Exchange. Und mein Gast ist heute Peter Cardillo von Rockwell Global Capital. Peter, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure to be here.
Let's talk about some data we got this week. For example, the initial claims, the jobless claims. What do you think about it?
Well, obviously, I think it's somewhat seasonal now. We did see a drop of 30,000, and that took us down to levels that we haven't seen in a bit of a while, 364,000. But of course, I think one needs to bear in mind that we're in the fourth quarter, and generally in the fourth quarter you do have a buildup of temporary workers for the upcoming holiday season. So it's a step in the right direction. It was a little bit of a surprise. We were looking for a decline of about 4,000. So obviously it was much better than anticipated. And of course it does indicate that the jobs market is probably beginning to open up a little bit better, but certainly not enough to kick the economy into full gear.
What consequences does it have for the economy? What do you think?
Well, in the short term, it's a positive, not a negative. And we still have to bear in mind that not everything is pointing in the right direction. If we look back at yesterday's Beige Book, obviously, we saw housing data, which contributed a better tone to the service sector, an increase, a sporadic increase in jobs in some districts. So all in all, it was favorable for growth in the third quarter. That means we're probably going to see gross domestic product come in closer to 2 as opposed to 1.5%, but still very modest growth.
How important are those data for Barack Obama?
Well, I don't think it's really going to help Obama very much. If you look at the latest polls, Romney is slightly ahead, and I think the key is that he's now neck and neck in some of the key swing states, and that just simply means that we could have an upset come November. And I think there are some indications of that in the marketplace.
We got the Beige Book this week, and the Fed says that the economy is improving. Where do you see the economy midterm or long term?
I think we'll continue to grow. I don't think we're headed for a recession. I don't think that. I think that the fear of fiscal cliff is probably a little bit exaggerated, because I think that one way or another Congress after the elections will avoid taxes going up. I mean, they may postpone it for another 3 or 6 months, but I think the fear of that fiscal cliff is somewhat exaggerated. So I think we'll get some action out of Congress right after the elections.
There were some companies like Chevron or Alcoa that expect lower earnings. Do you think there will be more companies with this data?
Absolutely. I think that's going to be the theme of the third quarter earnings season. I think, by and large, most companies will report better than expected earnings, beat market expectations, but I think we're going to get a big hike in murky forecast, and that just simply means lowered earnings going forward.
The IMF warns to a global recession. Where do you see the United States in this content?
Well, obviously, if I'm wrong about the fiscal cliff, and we do have a fiscal cliff, then we're headed for a recession, and the global economy will certainly follow the U.S. into recession. Now, there's been a slowdown, a very noticeable slowdown in global economic activity, especially in Asia. Just overnight, we saw 2 emerging markets cut their interest rates again, cut monetary policy. So that, is a sign that the acceleration of the slowdown is picking up. And so, again, a lot depends on the U.S., and of course a lot depends what happens in Asia. Europe certainly is not going to get out of recession. Unfortunately, I think even the mighty German economy could be in for a mild soft landing, which means all of Europe stays in recession for at least another year. So what I think we're going to see here is just slow growth within the global economy. Europe stays in recession, and we continue to limp along.
Peter, thank you very much for the interview.
My pleasure.
Und Ihnen, liebe Zuschauer, danke ich sehr fürs Einschalten. Wenn Sie Lust haben, können Sie sich diese Ausgabe natürlich auch online anschauen unter www.drf.fm. Und ansonsten sehen wir uns, wenn Sie mögen, beim nächsten Mal wieder. Bis dahin, machen Sie es gut.